One of the heaviest crossroads a conscious person ever gonna have to face is what to do with their loved ones that clearly choose to stay in the matrix, right? Now, do we keep trying to help them or do we leave them where they at? I don't want to leave nothing out, so I'm gonna take it step by step, okay? Um, so the first thing I want to talk about is the 3D realm, right? The low vibrational realm, the survival mode realm. Now, the 3D realm is where ego, fear, materialism, identity, status, control, right? This is where all of that still thrives. This is where people still chase clout, money, validation, right? Still locked in anger, right? A lot of distractions, okay? They also have no accountability for their actions. Now, believe it or not, most people are still stuck here, right? And that's only because they've been programmed and broken down by design. Okay, so now let's talk about the 4D realm, right? The awakening zone or the transitional layer, right? Now, I call it the transitional layer because this is where people start to wake up, right? But they still fighting old battles, right? With ego, illusion, and pain from the past. Now, the 4D realm kind of feel like you know there's something wrong with the world, right? You know it, but you just don't fully understand it yet. You being torn between your higher self and your lower self, right? You also get spiritual downloads, but you still acting out sometimes out of survival. This is where you begin to question reality, right? But at the same time, you struggle to leave the old reality behind. Now, this is a hella dangerous place to get stuck in, right? Because a lot of people think that they made it just because they awakened, right? But they still haven't ascended yet. Now we can move on to the 5D realm, okay? Now, this is where unity, love, and truth lives. Now, in the 5D realm, love overrides fear, okay? Unity overrides separation. You are no longer performing or pleasing, right? And now you start to move with intuition, not just intellect. You don't chase no more either. What you do is you attract what matches your frequency. Now, the 5D don't argue with the 3D, okay? You don't try to convince people no more. You become the proof and you keep your peace, right? Now, that's the only way that you can guide without draining. So now we move on to what about the ones that we love that is still in 3D? Now that part right there, man, that's the spiritual heartbreak. When you love somebody deep as hell and they refuse to wake up. Now it's very important that you understand this part right here, okay? You can't drag nobody into the light. If they not ready to see, you gonna burn yourself trying to get them to. They gotta want it on their own. If not in this lifetime, then in the next. And when you get to that point, right, don't think that you're abandoning them because you're not. You just refuse to get pulled back into a dimension that you fought hard as hell to get yourself out of. You remember that old saying, let the dead bury the dead? Okay, well, that's a spiritual truth, right? Because you're not here to save them. You couldn't anyway, even if you tried, right? You're here to be an example, right? So when they finally choose to wake up, they'll remember that you showed them how. Now, you can stay in proximity of them, right? Or close to them, right? But don't forget to protect your peace. What I mean by that is if you can be around them, right? And still stay centered, do it. But if not, distance is divine. Sometimes you got to love from afar, you know. Now, you can send energy or prayer or however you want to do it, right? Just don't sacrifice your vibration for somebody that don't even know that they're asleep. Helping or trying to help somebody too much, right, can put yourself in a trap, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes we disguise ego as love, right? We'll say some shit like, I just want to help them, right? But deep down, right, we just don't want to be alone, right? We don't want to lose them. And if you ask me, right, subconsciously, we want to be the one that saved them, right? And that's ego talking. And 5D don't move off ego. So the solution to that is you got to lead by frequency and not force, right? You got to stay elevated even when they stay stuck. And if they ever come looking for the light, you will still be there shining. So to answer the question, right, the $1 million question, do we leave them behind? No. What we do is we stop waiting for them to catch up while we still move forward. If they are real, right, they gonna feel your vibration and they gonna rise up to meet you one day. But if not, you still did your part, right? And your ancestors gonna be proud of you for that.